Hey Eddie, your friendly neighborhood Monomachus here, speaking to you from the lovely Fortress of Solitude. Today I want to speak about Covington. Forgive me, I've got some notes here, and then I'm going to go extemporaneous because I figured the notes may keep me on an even keel because I'm full of piss and vinegar today, and have been for several days now. Okay, every now and then an event or events propel a people to define something that transpired, which was a puckle, with one word or two: Omaha Beach, Verdun, Selma, Charlottesville. To that we can now add Covington. Now, you all knew exactly what I was going to talk about when you clicked on the link above to read it, and then also to click on the link below to view it. Covington, you know what's going on. And you could tell just by the word, it has just taken off explosively, which means that we're pretty close, I think, to some serious shit going down, pardon my French. Alrighty, what happened a few days ago at the annual March for Life? A young man and his cohort from Covington High School, it's a Catholic school in Covington, Kentucky, were waiting for their bus. They were wearing a red MAGA hat, and they were approached seemingly by an Omaha Indian elder who was chanting in their faces, banging a drum. Now, the original version of events said that they were mocking him. And some were even doing the tomahawk chop and stuff like that. Clearly that didn't happen. And for all you conservatives out there, it's a good idea to travel in pairs or more and always have the batteries in your iPhone or your smartphone ready to go so you can record things. And there's about an hour and 40 minutes of recording, I believe, on this, which is, wow, that's a lot, if you ask me. So anyway, the young man, Nick Sandman, was very stoic. Some say he had a smirk on his face. Others were saying he was just, being stoic. He was just a 15-year-old. He didn't know what to do. Now, of course, liberals are saying, well, he should have moved on. He should have backed off. No, not at all. Not at all. No way in hell. This is a free country still. The First Amendment means that I have the right to stand on a street corner and, read from the book of Isaiah if I want. As long as I'm not in somebody's face and screaming or invading their personal space, I can do what I want. The First Amendment is absolute, provided all those caveats. Okay? Now, having said that, he couldn't move. He and his friends were waiting for their bus to take him back to Kentucky. So why should they move? On a principle basis, they should not move. On a prudential basis, they couldn't move. They'd miss their bus. Then how are they going to get back? Hitchhike? Don't be stupid. Okay, so I got that out of my way. Okay, now you have to see the entire video for yourself. I didn't, but I saw enough of it to know that nothing happened like they immediately said happened. And by they, I mean the corporate media. I mean our political establishment. They're idiots. Either that or they're evil. Okay. Covington is an indictment of our ruling class and the corporate media. No two ways about it. Kudos to President Trump for coming to their defense and inviting them to the White House. And I mean that, kudos. I want to talk about the media a little bit. their credibility, such as it is pretty much over with now, isn't it? Now, this came on the heels of the BuzzFeed fraud, that hoax, in which they were so humiliated because even Special Counsel Robert Mueller III had to come out and just knock it out. And he said, "Folks, there's nothing here." So their credibility was already in flames. It's possible that they latched on to this viral video of this young man being confronted by this so-called tribal elder, who, by the way, we are told is a Vietnam veteran. Interestingly enough, they didn't check that out, did they? Nathan Phillips, this Omaha Indian elder, was born in 1955. I seriously doubt he was recruited into the Army when he was 15. Like Senator Richard Blumenthal, he's another war hero who didn't serve in war. So anyway, that's something to say there, that the media latched onto this crisis, so to speak, because their credibility was already shot because of the BuzzFeed thing. I mean, they were humiliated by BuzzFeed. Now they're humiliated even more. The left, the progressives, the establishment, the corporate media are like rabid dogs. They have no willpower anymore. They have no free will. Their derangement is so absolute that they cannot have any discrimination anymore. They deserve our derision and our contempt. However, I will give them a little bit of slack because basically they are devotees of this fanatical cult, the cult of Trump hatred. The cult, I will say, of America hatred. Yeah, I said it. And they have that same empty stare look, the same rote gestures, and the same creedal talking points that they repeat, which require no thought. You know, they're brainwashed. That's why I don't go too hard on them. I mean, after all, Charles Manson was able to get a few half-dozen all-American middle-class white kids and have them savagely murder people they never even laid eyes on. He was able to do that. So you can lose your free will. And our political class and their media acolytes have lost all discernment, all discrimination. The obloquy I want to heap on, though, is not on them because, poor dears, they don't have control of their faculties. I can't say that enough. But among the so-called right, the conservatives, I'm thinking of people like Bill Kristol. I'm thinking of the Editorial Review National Board. I'm sorry, the National Review online. A guy named Bill Frankovich, I believe. And even the leaders of the March for Life, who immediately started condemning these young men. I'm thinking of the Catholic Diocese of Covington itself, which has still not apologized for coming out and condemning these young fellows. I'm thinking of Covington High School itself as well for not doing so. This is unconscionable, folks. Even if they were guilty of mockery, so what? They were being mocked. They were being mocked, as well as was the Catholic Church, by the so-called Black Israelites, or the Black Hebrew Israelites. That's this group of people that are in parallel, that are in parallel with the Nation of Islam, in that they are racists or racialists, and they're racial supremacists. They believe that black people are the true human race, and in the case of the Black Israelites, that they are the true Israelites, that your Jewish friends that you grew up with are not really Jews, but are Khazars or some other Mongol tribe that converted to Judaism many centuries ago. Okay, that the black Hebrew Israelites are the real Israelites. Okay, it's a free country. If you want to believe that, fine. And by the way, the black Muslims believe that white people were bred on the island of Patmos by an evil scientist named Yaqub, who, you know, you thought he'd use these white ape-like creatures to take over and, to take over, be the top dog. Unfortunately, these white ape-like creatures broke free of their cages and slaughtered everybody, and then started colonizing the world and taking it over. So that's what the Nation of Islam and all these black supremacist cults believe, and that sometime around 1914 was when the age of the Gentiles was over, and then when and that's when the true Israelites or the true human beings would take over. Anyway, I'm just throwing that out there. It's a free country. If you want to believe it, fine, no problems. As long as you don't go out killing people, you're okay with me. But they were taunting those young boys. Those young boys just sat there and took it. I don't know if I would have. I probably would have engaged them in some kind of conversation, some dialogue. But that's me. Anyway, there's so much more that can be said. There's just so much more that could be said. But, folks, we're at a crisis point. We are. And it's not going to be fun. And I'm just saying, gird your loins. Because on a micro level, as you saw at the March for Life, and on a macro level, as we're seeing right now with the State of the Union and the hardening of the positions of Knob Hill Nancy against Donald Trump, things are going to get wild and woolly, folks. That's not stopping me from saying, let's try to love one another. Pax vobiscum. Adios.